Chapter 15. Princess Bailey slammed her door as she entered her room, frightening two nearby maids who were not used to seeing their calm and kind mistress like this. She looked into the vanity mirror and scowled at her reflection. "You could have done something," she shouted. "You knew he was sick." Her voice broke once more. She took 3 long strides toward the dresser, using her hands to support herself. "And yet you did nothing. He's gone because of you, and now the weight of the kingdom is on you." She threw her fist in the mirror, shattering it and cutting her hand badly. She only looked at her hand, not bothered by the sight of her own blood, a sight which usually made her very ill. She scowled and went to the wardrobe, taking out a cloth that was usually used to wash her face, and wrapped it around her cut hand. She needed someone to remove the small glass shards she could feel poking into her skin. Or not. She deserved the pain as her punishment for letting her father die of a curable disease. "But ladies, everything all right? We heard a crash." A maid stepped into the room and noticed the princess's injury and gasped. "My princess, your hand!" She ran to her. "Let me see it. It needs to be treated properly." She said nothing as she was offered her hand to the maid, who unwrapped it to see several cuts, small cuts, as well as a rather large gash on the middle knuckle. "Princess, you mustn't let out like that. You could have hurt yourself far worse. You're lucky it's just a few cuts." She gently laid the cloth over the wound. "I'll get the nurse. Please sit down and keep that hand wrapped." As the maid rushed out of the room to find the nurse, Bailey collapsed into the bed and broke into tears, not because her hand was now throbbing in pain, but because it felt like her heart was being ripped from her chest. Her mother was gone, and now so was her father. "Why him?" she cried softly. "Why me? Why now?" As she cried, Prince Michael rushed through the door. "Bailey, the maid said you were hurt. Is everything—" He stopped as he noticed the bloody cloth around her hand, then the broken mirror. He quickly did the math, as he had done something similar to a full-length mirror in his own palace. He sighed. "I see." He walked to the bed and sat next to her. "Let me see your hand. If there's glass in it, still. We need to get it out or it'll get infected." "Who cares? Let it rot and fall off." She didn't look up to him as she spoke, placing her hand in the cloth that was soaking in her blood from the number of cuts. "Princess Bailey, I will not have you speak like that now. Let me see your hand." He laid his own hand on her wounded one, only to gain a wince of pain from the princess as she pulled away. "Calm down. This is no time to be stubborn." He took her hand and unwrapped the cloth. "Like I thought, glass is embedded in your hand and has to come out. I can do it, but it'll hurt." He looked around the room and his eyes settled on a small pillow on the couch. He left the bed and brought her the pillow. "Going to have to trust me, Bailey." She stayed silent as he handed her the pillow, only giving him a quizzical expression as to ask what he was doing. "I'm going to take the glass out of your hand, but if you bear it down in your teeth because of the pain, your teeth will crack. You can't have that if you ever want to eat again, so when the pain is too much, bite the pillow. Scream if you must, but all of it must come out." She looked at the pillow and him, offering her hand. If he wanted to help her that badly, she may as well have let him. She let the cloth fall from her hand and to the hardwood floor. As the cloth fell, the prince set to work in removing the glass from her bloodied hand, placing the pieces on the bedside table to be taken out in a moment. Away. She winced and pulled away instinctively, but Prince Michael held her wrist in his iron grasp while working with his other hand. "Please try to sit still, Bailey. This will only take a moment. He plucked a rather large sliver from the back of her hand, causing her to cry out as she bit down on the pillows he had given her. A new trail of tears streamed down her face as the pain overwhelmed her. But soon the task was done, and Bailey's hand was riddled with wounds, yes, but no more glass was in her hand. He went to the closet and took out another cloth, going back to the bed with it and wrapping it tightly around her hand to stop the bleeding. "Keep this clean, and you should be fine." He looked at her sullen expression and gently lifted her chin. "Now, what drove you mad enough to put your fist through a mirror?" "The thought that I could have done something to help him. I could have noticed that he was ill sooner, demanded that he see a doctor." She was shaking, mostly from doing her best to hold back her tears, but also from the shock and loss she had felt for the past few days. "Bailey, you know as well as I do that no one demanded anything of King Victor, as bullheaded as he was." A smirk crossed his face, unbidden. "I suppose you're right. Even if my sister and I had begged him, I doubt he would have seen one." Ugh. Her chest heaved with sorrow. "I should apologize to the maids for frightening them. They seem to be afraid of me now." Probably because she was very angry and had gone into a rage not 20 minutes ago. "I know, they were frantic when they found me. And I ran here thinking you had fallen down the stairs or something." He shook his head, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'm glad you're not seriously hurt. Your hand will heal in time." He was showing that side of him again. The side that actually cared for other human beings and showed her in the way he had begun to treat her. Maybe if they were to marry, it wouldn't be so bad. She lay her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for your help. I'm not myself. Clearly. But neither was I when my parents..." He frowned at the memory of coming home to the palace after winning a war and finding them gone and buried. No closure, no goodbyes. Just gone. "At least you got to say goodbye." "Yes." She closed her eyes, his presence oddly calming to her now. "But it hurts that he's gone along with Mother." "I know." He raised a hand to rub her back. "I know."